Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look back at Breeders' Cup 2022 at Keeneland. In this edition, we're going to take a look at the Dirt Mile. We break from the gate, a great story, a very exciting race. Cody's Wish and the Godolphin Blue didn't break very well. That might have been one of the better things to happen to him, Mike, because this pace is fast.
Yeah, they do move right along here. I think we will point out right now, though, Dan, that the horses that wind up finishing second, third, and fourth are all pretty close to the lead in this race. Cody's Wish he winds up back off the pace. That's kind of his running style. He used to be way worse than that from the gate. He didn't break great here, Dan, but it didn't really cost him that much, and he'll make a long, sustained run to get this job done.
Pipeline was hustled up to make the lead and is facing pressure from Gunite, who is stretching out for the first time. Slow Down Andy settled into a nice spot in third, but let's keep an eye on Cyberknife. Cutting back in distance, here's the 3-year-old. He seems to be moving strongly on the outside, the number 9 in the yellow cap.
Yeah, he was never far away from this pace either. They kept him out in the clear here. He's another horse who can be a little bit of a handful to ride sometimes, and they did have a pretty good hold of him up the backstretch of this race, Dan, but they moved at the right time. They're going to come challenge three wide around this final turn of the race here. And he puts up a really good fight for Cody's Wish through the stretch here. This is a really nice stretch drive between these 1-2 finishers.
The Pipeline has had enough. Gunite has had enough. Cyberknife strikes the lead, turning into the stretch at Keeneland. Cody's Wish about to set upon him, and they really do throw it down in the last quarter of a mile. Cody's Wish does have the momentum. Cyberknife drops down to the inside, and at the wire, it's going to be Cody's Wish and Junior Alvarado by a desperate head with a game Slow Down Andy, a really rock-solid third.
Yeah, Slow Down Andy sat the right kind of trip in here, but he never stopped trying through the stretch. Can't quite get to the 1-2 finishers who both just really gave it their all down there to the wire, Dan. It was Cody's Wish who wound up prevailing. Another really strong performance for this horse. He had quite a year.
He certainly did. He beat Jackie's Warrior in the Grade 1 Forgo. He won his last 4 starts of 2022, ended up 4 for 5. The only loss coming by a neck. He won sprinting. He won around 2 turns. He won in fast time. Again, the 112 buyer in the Forgo and a 106 buyer here. And the good news, Mike, is we'll see him again in 2023, and maybe they'll even try to stretch him out farther. If not, let's see him in the Met Mile.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just a really, really good horse. He had his issues early on. I think a lot was thought of this horse right from the very beginning. He has a huge pedigree for Godolphin, but he was just a horse who wasn't really ready early on, Dan. He never got out of the gate very well. He really cost himself some higher placings early on in his career, but he has really figured it all out. I'm glad we're going to have him back. He's still very lightly raced. We probably haven't even seen his best yet.
I guess there's a chance Cyberknife runs one more time. He's scheduled to stand 2023 in Spendthrift. I'd love to see him back for one more year, but it appears that's not going to be in the cards. He did show some flashes this year at 3, including, of course, his victory in the Haskell.
Ran well in some really good 3-year-old races. There's no reason to retire this horse. He's another one who just felt like he was even still getting better. Our horse, it took him a while for the light to go on. When it went on, he ran some really nice races, but he never really won that big one that could still be out there waiting for him. Dan, I know that the Haskell's a nice win to be sure, but this horse could have been a really good older horse.
Slow Down Andy will go back to California for trainer Doug O'Neill to prepare for a 4-year-old campaign. It doesn't matter whether it's sprinting or going 2 turns, turf or dirt. He's a very solid horse, and I'd love to see him progress farther as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, me too. He ran pretty well in here, and he came into this race a little bit under the radar and went off as one of the bigger prices. But he acquitted himself very, very well, even while racing relatively close to what was a pretty solid pace. I like this horse. I'll be very interested to see what he does going forward.
Gunite's a very game horse. He tries hard in all of his races. Maybe the 2-turn mile, especially coming back on such short notice, was a little bit too much to ask. But if he does come back, and I expect he will as a 4-year-old, I expect to see him in some top sprint races.
Yeah, you're going to see him. That's what I think too. I don't think the 2-turn mile really played to this horse's strengths. He still ran a quality race here. I like him better going shorter. He's a horse who still has more upside. Was just getting good at the end of his 3-year-old campaign. He loves Saratoga, so I'm sure we'll see him up there too.
As for the other, Simplification just didn't run back to the form he showed earlier this year when he was a Triple Crown aspirant on the road there down in South Florida. Pipeline Show Speed disappointed very badly. He was somewhat close to Cody's Wish in the Forego, but just dropped out of it tamely after about 5 furlongs.
Yeah, the pace was fast, but he really couldn't cope with it. It was a pretty disappointing performance. The other two horses in here, Three Technique, Senior Buscador, they came in with some, I thought, pretty solid form from Kentucky, but neither one of them really made their presence felt here.
Let's take a closer look at Cody's Wish, and all he's done is win 7 of his last 8 starts, the only loss coming by a neck. A Godolphin homebred by Curlin, out of Dance Card by Tappet. Junior Alvarado timed it just right to go after Cyberknife, turning into the stretch. They got it done with a 106 Buyer's speed figure, right on the back of a 112 Buyer in the Forego. Let's take a look at the prices for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Cody's Wish, as the 2-to-1 favorite, wins pays $6.32 in Kentucky. Cyberknife was second. Slowed Down Andy tracked the pace from the rail and finished an even third. 791. Great story for Cody's Wish, who had a really underrated year, capped off with a big effort in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.